Let's move to I think it's a hot topic, sugar. You already mentioned this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, just on a personal note right now, that when I see the amount of sugar stuffed products in a local periptero,
Yes.
Eleni, it drives me crazy. Really, it's just like, it's like we don't sell alcohol till you're 18, but we sell this from like when you 1 month old. Let's say nobody is going to refuse. I cannot find the ground here really when I think about it. So anyway, so when we talk about the sugars, what's first like? There are a lot of conversation about the sugar, like fruits. The sugar is different, so probably you could start with like what are the types of the sugar that is okay for a child, and the other types that we will need to avoid, and then probably you could talk a little bit more on some strategies that you advise to your parents how to avoid and minimize the amount of sugar products, taking into consideration that in many places where you go with the child, it's all stuffed with sugar.
I also teach, except the individual consultations, I also teach webinars. I believe a lot in the, small group interaction. So the webinar I have on sugar, both in Greek and in English, is the most successful webinar. Whenever I send the announcement at my emailing list, it books like in minutes. And I usually don't even need to advertise it on the social media, because all parents really are worrying so much about sugar, and they should worry so much, and even more, I would say. So yeah, I'm a Greek, you live in Cyprus, and I live right now in Netherlands. Both of these countries are way at the top 5 in Europe in sugar consumption. Netherlands actually, per adult, is second in the world after US. So it's grouped with Germany. So it's like I had recently seen the data, and it was almost 100 grams of sugar, which is like 20 teaspoons of sugar every day for every person living per day. 20 teaspoons of sugar.
It's a lot.
So the problem with sugar, I would say, is two different problems. One is what you mentioned about the social pressure. It's about our our politicians' inability to control the big sugar industry. We have won on soda, so this big soda is losing, at least in US. But there is so much more fights we need to give on a political level, on reducing and on putting a limit. If you can you advertise a children's lollipop and ice cream if it has the sugar that this child should have in a month? Should you be legally allowed to do that? So the social pressure is one part, and I'm going to come back to that on some points of what a family can do in that environment. I mean, it's really difficult. For me, it's also very difficult. And the other part is the misinformation we have around sugar and sugars. Even the health professionals have this misinformation around that. So let's go back to some basic chemistry. I'm not gonna blow your mind, but the word sugars is not equal to the word sugar what we have in our everyday life. So when we talk about sugars, we talk about specific structure of molecules that can also be big and complex and good. So we have the good sugars, the complex sugars, which are the complex carbs. A lot of people think that carbs and sugar is identical. There is a huge misunderstanding here about basic chemistry. So complex carbs, like what we find in legumes, what we find in whole cereals, what we find in fruits, are good for our health. They should not be avoided. We should not avoid, starch, which the potato has, or the beans, or whole fruit. What we need to avoid is the free sugars. Free sugars are all the sugars that come into our body and they work, they will increase our blood sugar very fast. So one of the problems here is that a lot of people do know that, the table white sugar is free sugars, but because the definition of free sugars by the UK, for example, it happened in a publication in 2018. So it's very, very recent. That is why we even have a lot of health professionals that they are not really updated on what we define nowadays as free sugar. Honey is free sugars. So it goes to the sugar category, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a healthy substitute for our recipes.
Mm-hmm.
All the syrups like molasses, like, maple syrup, coconut syrup, I don't know, date syrup, all these are considered to be free sugars. So for a change of your flavor, you can use them, but I really cry inside me when I see so many recipes online. These are cookies without sugar. Healthy for kids. Give it to your children. Give it to the school snack. And then they have maple syrup. Then they have coconut sugar. Then they have honey. At least in Greece, I don't know how it's appreciated. In Greece, honey is a big thing. So uh, we need to get informed on what free sugars is. And at the same category, there goes everything which is a fruit, which is squeezed or smashed. So when you have a carton of juice saying this is 100% natural juice, this is free sugars. Because even if it comes 100% from apple and oranges, you squeeze it out, you throw away the fiber, and what is left is free sugars now. It works in your body like white sugar. So this is, I think, the most, important thing that parents should know. The difference between good complex carbs, sugars, and what is considered to be free sugars nowadays.
That's very useful, I think, and very insightful what you're saying. And the next question that I have personally as a parent, and I'm sure many other parents have, is like, how do you avoid these sugars, especially in the public environment, in school? Going to the park, you go to the park, there is a cafe, there are going to be like cookies, bars, juices, etc. So yeah, you could bring your stuff. This is one of the strategy with you, but maybe you could, advise and sometimes kids just want to buy something. They just want to eat something that somebody other eats. So
Yeah.
what would be your top three strategies that probably you use with your kids and you advise other parents they find them useful?
I will start by saying that that's not an easy path. It needs continuously involvement, continuous talk with the child, because on one hand, we do want to control their exposure to this, some say addictive substance, okay, some say, we're not very sure about the word addiction, but we do know that it changes the taste preferences. So we do know that it has a vast adverse health effects. So we do want to control the sugar intake, the free sugars intake, but on the other hand, we care about the connection with our kids. We care about how our kids feel in a social environment. We care whether the child is resilient enough to be the different kind of child. I'm raising two vegan children. So they are the children that when we go to a party, they will not usually eat the cake which is there. this sometimes has brought, difficulties in our family. So I will start point out that this discussion should be with respect to the child and with a focus on the connection, like the connection between mother and or parent, not mother, parent, sorry, and the child should be first in this discussion. We don't risk. We should never go ahead and, like punish kids or say, no, you are not allowed, I forbid you. All these words that will put our connection at risk. So first step, I would say, if we focus on the connection, is having ourselves the appropriate education. Because if you have a family diet plan, and this is where family coaching comes, if you have a family diet plan that through 6 days in a week, your child gets less than 5% of the total calories in free sugars, then it's okay if they eat the cake at the party. It's okay if they eat the lollipop at the holidays, or when they visit the grandma and grandpa, if they eat a lot of sugar. Well, I know, like that's a problem, some problem of our families. So first is educating ourselves and creating a healthier, less sugary plan when we are at our safe space. Okay, then it really works well with elder kids to give alternatives. So when again we educate ourselves on what is what, we can go back and train ourselves to use some numerical skills, just look into the labels and understand whether the A product and the B product is different. You can have, chocolate cereals, which are one of the most sugary stuff a kid can find. One can have, 20% of free sugars, and the other can have 38% of free sugars. So if a child insists in, like, this weekend I really want to have chocolate cereals because my friend does and they're vegan. I mean, my child says that. I said, okay, we can, but I'm gonna choose, the best out of the two bad options. But alternatives work very well, and what I have seen with my kids and also many families, like when you name certain things as dessert, there is a very interesting article written by Walter Willett. He is the head of nutrition and epidemiology in Harvard Medical School. So he had written a very nice article with the title Redefining Dessert. He went out to a conference and he met with a chef and he said, make me a dessert that has nuts, fruits, and dark chocolate. You combine these three elements and you can make very nice things at home, or even sometimes outside you can find very nice things with these three elements, where the kids will be very happy and they will get, 1/10 of the sugar content that you will get. So give alternatives and name these things at dessert. In our house, we eat Alpro vanilla yogurt with fruits like strawberries or any other kind of fruit, and we name it dessert. We don't name that thing yogurt because it should not be named yogurt, But we say that, yeah, like you can have that dessert today, but if you see that sugar content is less than what he should eat the whole day, so it's okay if he has it even 2 times per week. And then the last, third approach also, unfortunately, that's the toughest, and I understand some families just cannot go there, is working on the social environment. Like advocate to your school. If your school allows lollipops for birthday treats, go and talk to them. Like if the grandma makes, I don't know, very sugary stuff every day for snack in the evening, try to change her mind. So advocating for a healthier environment is also a part of parents. And to my experience, it doesn't work to have this discussion with a 3-year-old. My daughter is 3.5. I'm not there yet, but my son is 7.5, and he is more than capable of having this discussion himself. Advocate for healthier desserts.
That's very important. And I think advocating is like knowledge and data is really helping, at least for me, to advocate for something and have these conversations. And on that topic, what is the normal sugar intake for a child? If it depends on the age also.
We have some guidelines. We have the World Health Organization guideline. It says that it should not cross the 10% of the total calories. So if a child needs 800 calories, it depends on the age, or 1,000, then it should not be more than 80 or 10.
Of free sugar or sugar in total?
Of free sugars. This is the intake of free sugars. So here, if we just, train ourselves a little into our numerical skills, which I always try to do that in my webinars. Then the 10% of the total calories is the highest level, let's say. Then World Health Organization says that to have extra benefits of health, we need to put that under 5% of the total calories. And then you have another announcement of the European Food Safety Authority, that I think it is 2022 also, or 2021. I mean, it's very recent. They assessed the adverse effects of free sugars in our diet, and they found that there is actually a zero safe limit. Like, the safe limit is zero. What they found is that it's always some adverse effect. I mean, if you include even the effect on our teeth, for example, there is always some adverse effect. So depending on how the family wants to go, you can choose the 10% limit or the 5% limit. The zero, I think, is like socially impossible.
Yeah.
That's my case.
That
And
is
the zero, I also think it really endangers the connection with the child. But yeah, 5 to 10%, let's say. Let's put it there.
That's probably a very separate question, but I'm wondering, the dry fruits, is it the same source of free sugar, like let's say dates?
So very nice question. We don't know.
Okay.
Ask me after a few years.
Okay.
So the literature on that, they say that dry fruits seem to work somewhere in the middle. So they do have the fiber, but unfortunately, because they are dehydrated, the cells have been processed. Some cell walls have broken. So what we see and what we believe theoretically, that they don't work as free sugar. So giving raisins to your child is not like giving white sugar. But on the other hand, because they are dense on the sweet taste, they do change the taste preferences. So if a child, let's say you have a 3-year-old child, and every day for snack in the afternoon they eat raisins, there is a high chance that the mandarini and the kiwi will be out of the preference list very soon. So we need to also see this, according to the age of the child, if they can stay into a logical limit, then it's a okay food to include in our diet plan.